Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Damaged Darts. Today I'll be showing you how to convert a Nerf Doublestrike into a Blade Runner themed pistol. Let's do this. Alright, I've disassembled the gun and it's ready for painting here. Now what I usually start with is the gray Automotive primer here, and I go over the gun in about 1 or 2 layers depending on how well the primer sticks. But before you do that, be sure to also sand down all your pieces and then go ahead and do the primer and then your colors of choice. So, and I've got the pieces taped off right here. If you're doing this gun, make sure to tape off that spot so it doesn't get all gunked up when you put it back in the gun, so it may hinder the performance of the gun, so make sure to tape that part off. Yeah, I've just started the black paint job here on it. I'm going with the Blade Runner kind of themed color scheme to it because it kind of looks like the snub-nosed short Blade Runner pistol. So, and it looked pretty cool with all the colors, so I decided to just go with those colors. So. Oh, and one other thing you guys may have noticed, but that piece right there, you're probably looking around and you're like, what the heck, that isn't even part of this gun. And you're right, because that's a piece that I 3D printed off of Thingiverse, and I'll put those links in the description for those if you guys have a 3D printer or want to 3D print that part. But that part goes over the barrel of this main gun to just for basically cosmetics, and I thought it looked pretty cool, so I just 3D printed it with my own 3D printer. But again, I will leave the credits and the link in the description for that piece so you guys can print it if you guys want. Alright, update real quick here. I actually decided to go over the black. I taped it off again. I'm going over the black with a gloss black to make it look more like a shiny gunmetal. And afterwards, I'm gonna put some graphite on it and rub in the graphite to make it look all shiny also. So that's the one thing that I'm changing on this. Other than that, I'm keeping everything the same. And I'll probably finish it up here. I've got to paint the trigger guard with the silver, and I think that's pretty much it. I already painted this, the silver, so that's nice and done. So after this is all dry and done, I'll paint that silver, then I'll put it together and do the demo. Alright, so here I have the Doublestrike Nerf pistol here. It's blade open and I've taken out all the parts. So for the main modifications that you do for this gun, there's not very many things you can do. However, you can take out the air restrictor in the back by, actually mine, I've seen other ones that have screws up here, but mine I bought from Goodwill, and I opened it up and I noticed that they didn't have any screws right here. So once you take these screws out, you're going to want to take your screwdriver and just lightly push down, and this piece will pop out. And as you can see, I've already taken off the rods here. That will allow for different types of darts to be used on the inside. And these parts right here are the air restrictors. You can't really do much with those. You can't really take those out because of this whole mechanism. It's all sealed together as one piece, and that may mess up the gun itself and its firing power if you meddle around with this piece. So what I did to take off these posts is I just use some needle nose pliers and I push these down and I just chop them off, and I kind of sanded off the tips here so they're a little smoother. And then after that, go ahead and just slide this back in, making sure the longer extended one goes with the longer extended barrel, like so. Just push it back in there, and if you guys have screws, make sure to screw it back in. So for that part's done. And the next part you want to do is take the plunger mechanism here with the O-ring, take that off, and what you're going to need is some T-tape, so the white like plumbing tape, and you take a little bit of that and you're going to want to wrap it around where the O-ring normally goes. This is to tighten the seal of the O-ring while it's in the plunger mechanism in this piece here. So I think a couple times around should do it here. And after that, sometimes this piece can be hard to separate here, but after you've done that a little bit and squish it in there, let's see, and push it in, put the O-ring on, and then try it out in your thing here. You should notice that it has a lot more compressibility and doesn't slide as easily as before. See, mine fits like just barely, so I think that's all I needed on this one. But you want it to be nice and tight. And just to be sure, if you guys have some white lithium grease, you can use that. This is the Orange Modworks white lithium grease, and just put a little dot on there. That's not really white. What are they talking about? And just move it around on here a little bit, and then you can like take this and push it up and down in here to kind of lube it up with the lithium grease, and that should do it for that part. And let's see, what was the third part here? I believe, so I've got that one, the O-ring, and I don't know if there's anything you can really do with this spring because it's a really powerful spring and it's kind of hard to locate certain springs, but I'm sure you can find some in the hardware store. But I'm just going to leave mine as is and just put it on back in the gun afterwards. Alright, so quick update, guys. I wasn't happy with the results of the shooting mechanism on this because I closed it up and I tested it out. But I found that if you add a PVC piece down here, I believe that is 1/2 inch PVC that I used. I cut about, I think maybe just under 1/2 inch of PVC. I sanded the top and bottom and the outside radius a little bit so it fit in here a little better. But you can still see that it's slightly bending this piece to the outside. But it shoots a lot better, and you'll notice that when I do my demo outside when I'm firing it. But yeah, that's one other thing you guys can do to compress the spring a little more in order to get a better performance out of your gun. So, alright, so here's the completed gun here. I decided to go with the gloss black here instead of the flat black. So I painted over the flat black with the gloss, and I went over it and I took some graphite that you can buy at the hobby store or even on Amazon, and I just took it, spritzed it, and rubbed it in with my finger, and took a paintbrush and got the smaller areas, and that gave it a gunmetal shine to it and a kind of oiled look. And I also put a wrap here over the plastic wrap to make it look more realistic. I just used the, I think it's the Big 5 or just sporting goods wrap for like hand wraps or toe wraps or anything like that. And I also used my grunge process on this. I just took brown acrylic and I put it in some water and I mixed it up, and I took a paintbrush and kind of brushed around, and I also painted my hand here. As you can see, it's a little dirty. I painted my hand and I gripped around it to kind of give it that grunge look, and I kept this brown part just as is, because I wanted it to look more like a synthetic leather. So I think that is pretty much it on that. So I've got the demo to show you here, and I've got some darts loaded in there already, so let's see that. So from here, it can only shoot like so far. It's not like a amazing mod where it shoots like 20 feet or such, but it shoots like every once in a while. It'll do one of those snub or like lame shots here. Oh man, it's been kind of weird here, but let's try that one more time. Alright guys, so after that underwhelming performance of this gun, I went back and looked at the design and I redesigned it here. So instead of the PVC, I actually have the a 3D printed cylinder there that this rod can fit through, but that the spring won't slide through, because that's the issue that I had, was that the spring was sliding into the PVC because it was, the inner diameter was too large. But another thing was, I put too much T-tape on the O-ring so that it wasn't compressing fast enough through this gun, and that was one of the other main things that was keeping the dart from shooting out as well. And one other thing here is I actually sanded off the paint here because it was keeping the trigger from moving as fast, so it was gumming up the trigger mechanism on this. So those are the 3 things that I changed in this, and that greatly changed the performance of it, and now it can shoot even better. I'd say it almost shoots just as well as the like Nerf Zombie Strike hammer shot that I have. So I will put this back together and I will demo it again for you guys outside. Alright, let's try this again after that underwhelming performance earlier on. As you can see, that's a lot better than the, what was it? What did I say? Instead of shooting out the barrel, it's pooping out the barrel. That's what I was doing earlier. But now it's actually shooting, so there's the performance of it. So, yeah, so that's a lot better than what I had before. So, hey everyone, hope you enjoyed this tutorial of modifying the Nerf Doublestrike into a Blade Runner themed pistol. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel already, please consider doing so by clicking on the icon here. Also click the notification bell below next to the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of our new videos. Damage Darts signing off.